All right, this is the beginning of quarter 4, and we're going to continue with our game projects. We're not starting a new thing, but we do have a new assignment, and this one is a simple single assignment. You're going to add one thing to your game, and I think I remember one person has this already, but most of you guys will add a little bit. And what we're going to add is text. So I'm shooting these enemies. You've seen this version before. I didn't add anything new today. When you get hit, it says you died, and I went with the black and red. You died, like the Dark Souls or Bloodborne thing, because I think it looks cool, but you could make it say something a little nicer, like game over. And this is press enter to continue, and when I do, boom, I respawn where I was, and I can keep going. Now, you can do that. You can add text that says game over, you died. You can add text that says you win when you get the good outcome. Here's an example of that in my breakout game. I added a little bit of text for win and lose. I don't know if it's going to run. Sometimes it gets pretty choppy if you have two at the same time, like if I'm running this and I'm running this. So you might have to refresh the page, and if it doesn't work, I'll just try again later. But the point is, you can have different conditions. It doesn't have to be game over. It could be at the beginning. It could say, like, here's your objective, find the key to the door, or collect 3 coins, or something like that. Oh, this is the one that bounces weird because I was messing with the collision. It didn't bounce the way it should have. But if I eventually get all the bricks, it'll say you win. And oops, something's wrong with my collision. Like I said, I was using a new one. I was trying to implement the Pygame's built-in stuff instead of using the one we had. And eventually it'll be great, but in this transitional phase, it kind of bounces a little weird or goes through stuff. But it does say you lose. And here's how to do that. Okay, the font is really simple, and you guys might do it in 3 lines. So, I'm treating this as like a little single assignment, not a project that's going to take a week, but just like, hey, do this and see how it goes. So, font is a part of Pygame. Okay, we're displaying it on the Pygame screen, not in the console. Like in quarter 1 and 2, you did stuff where it printed stuff. So we're not going to use the print. We're going to use a different system. Font is just a variable. Okay, I could call this anything I want. And then you use the Pygame stuff. So pygame.font makes sense. .sysfont. Okay, so here's where you have to choose what the actual font is, right? It can be Arial, it can be Times New Roman. But if you were going to do some other font, you'd have to add that file. Okay, fonts usually come in a file extension .ttf. I don't know if you guys have ever messed with that, but if you ever have to add a font to something, you upload a .ttf. And you could do that like in the files here on the side. We should try that with somebody just to see if any issues come up. But you could totally do that. However, it does have one built in, which is called sysfont, system font. And the name of it is, I believe, Free Sans Bold. Okay, you can add in a thing to get it to print its own name, and I think I did that. It's called Free Sans Bold or something like that. And then it has a couple parameters. Bold and italics, for example. If you wanted to say like bold equals true or italic equals true, then you'd put that right there. But I just put none, and you might even be able to skip that and just not do it at all. But you definitely need to say the size. Okay, the font size. You probably want to go with like 30 or 40 as a nice medium. If you want to do something huge, you could say 70 or 80. And just mess around. Try one, see how it looks, change it, hit run again. And this will be one of those things where you test it a few times. So that's how you name your font. This is just like when you name your screen or the width or any kind of variable. And you don't have to call it font. You could call it Mr. Krabs. It doesn't matter if you just give it a name and then you use the name. later. So where do we use it? I believe in this game it's in the brick, so it's like when the last one goes away, then it says you win. So if some condition happens, okay, in this one it's if the length of the brick list is 0, meaning that they're all off screen, then we're going to use a function that is going to be a big deal in the next quarter. It's called blit, okay? Screen.blit is where you're going to take an image and slap it onto your screen, okay? We've used functions like draw to draw circles and rectangles and stuff. But this one is blit, where you take an image that's already existing and you just say, hey, slap it on. You could, for example, upload an image, like just a picture of a door or something, and blit that. But you can also create an image, and one way to do that is with the font to create a little texty thing. Okay, so again, img is not a keyword, it's just a variable that you can call it whatever you want. You could call it like win message or something like that. And then the real key stuff is font, again, whatever you called it, dot render, and then in the parentheses, you give the message. Could be something in quotes, or it could be the name of a variable, like a string that has been saved somewhere. True, this is for anti-aliasing, which I don't know if you guys have heard that. It might be like a setting in a video game that you look through on your PC, but anti-aliasing means if something has a jagged edge from pixels, then this will smooth it out a little bit. So if you blow it up to a big size, it won't look kind of, jaggedy. And just go ahead and put it on true. It probably looks better that way, unless you have a certain style you're going for. And then, just like when we drew a circle or rectangle or something, you give it a color. And I used the Pygame dot color blah blah blah, or you could use a variable name, like you could say foreground color if you have a variable with that already in your game, So you say what the message is, what color, and then in the middle just throw a true in there. That's for the anti-aliasing. You might be able to skip it. I haven't tried. We'll see. But anyway, the blit function is really great. We're going to use it a lot, and it's also pretty simple. You just say what image you're going to put. And again, img is just the thing that we named in the previous line. We could have called it anything. And then you say, where does it go? Okay. And the coordinates I put right here, 2020, are like a little bit over and a little bit down. So they're in the top corner. If you remember, this is the breakout game where it was like, I'm going to lose, so it gives me the lose message. It was just right here. And I put 20 because like 20 is the border, so it's just inside of the border. That's pretty weird. Usually you want it to be in the middle of the screen. So you'd probably put like, 200 or something like that. Or you could use your variables and say, screen width over 2 and screen height over 2 or something like that. But importantly, this is the coordinates for the top left of the image. Okay, you don't have to say how long it is or how wide it is. It'll just base that off of your text. So if you say a long string, it'll be a bigger rectangle. Or if you say a big font, it'll be a bigger rectangle, but you don't have to determine that. It'll just start in that corner where you mentioned and then go as much as it goes. Okay, so really nice and simple, at least at first. We can do complicated stuff with blit later, but you want to say screen.blit, the image, and the coordinates. You get the image from font.render, and just start off by saying font is sys font. Okay, later you can do fancy stuff. And somebody today, you can try to upload, whatever cool font you want. See how it goes. But that's all you need, okay? You could theoretically do this in one line, like if you just want to say blit and then like instead of making the image in a separate line, you could put this whole giant thing, and instead of font.render, you could put pygame.font.sysfont blah 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 .render. But that would be big and ugly, right? You want to separate it. So you want to say what the font is, say what the image is, and then use them. It's like setting up dominoes to knock them down. It's very nice. So that is your assignment for today. Take your game, put some text. Could be at the beginning to say like, welcome, here's your objective. Could be at the end to say you win or lose. It could be information about the controls, like maybe in the corner you always have a little thing that says press spacebar to jump or something. Or it could be something a little more creative. It doesn't have to be just pure, pragmatic stuff. It could be a fun little message. It could be part of the experience, So I'm going to end this video now, and I want to have you guys just kind of mess around. We can try different fonts. We can try different sizes and shapes and colors. And all this stuff is going to be useful later because, as I've said, the themes for this Q4 are 1, user experience, making it easy on the people who pick this up so they're going to know what are the rules and what are the objectives. And 2, visuals. We're going to start adding images. This is a way to do that very simply.